Good afternoon. So I'm coming at you today a little worse for the wear, looking a little worse for the wear as I finished a bottle of wine by myself last night. Started and finished. Like popped it, finished it by myself last night. So I plan to film this video today. I'm just gonna rally and get it over with, but please excuse the appearance because that is what's going on. So I'm gonna go through what I read this month. I think in my last video, I talked about the fact I wanna read less this year. Circumstances considered, I read a lot in the month of January. I don't know how it happened because I feel like I was doing so much more, but I think it's because I had a lot of rereads and a lot of easier reads this month. So we're gonna go over that. I feel like 2022 might be like the year of rereads for me. So for the month of January, I read 15 books. Knowing that my goal for the entire year is 50, I feel like this is gonna be an odd, strong month and it's gonna slow down quite a lot as I have a lot planned that's coming, that's gonna be happening in my life for the next year. So I think it will significantly slow down as my personal life picks up. So let's go through what I read. So I'm just gonna lump all of these together. I read them throughout the month, but I'm just gonna lump them together for the sake of discussing it. I started my reread of Harry Potter and I read book 1, 2, 3 of the series, gave it 5 out of 5 because it's a childhood favorite, it's a reread. They just released the reunion special on January 1st. So of course, after watching that, I immediately picked up book 1 and have started my reread. And we'll be continuing that for the next few months. Hoping not to take like the full year to do the reread, but also trying to pace myself because my plan for rereading Harry Potter this year was going to be 1 book a month. And then I just read the first 3, so. Next, I read Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb. This is book 3 in the Farseer trilogy, so that is one and done, taken care of. I really enjoyed book 3. Robin Hobb has a way of pulling at your aching heartstrings and never letting go, and she did not disappoint with book 3. I'm so excited. I got the Ship of Magic or the Live Ship Traders trilogy for Christmas, so I'm excited to continue on in her world, but bidding a fond farewell to Fitz and Fool is difficult, but nevertheless, it has to be done. Next, I read Open Water by Caleb Nelson. I really enjoyed this. This I rated 4.5 out of 5 stars. It would have been a full 5-star, but just the nature of it being a heavy character work and it being so short, I felt like it's only 160 pages. I felt like I couldn't quite fully establish that connection to the characters, but this is a debut novel. It's gorgeous writing. The commentary is beautiful. It talks about race and masculinity and toxic masculinity, and how that can really affect you in your relationships and in the world, and just the privilege of being able to be in this character's head and see their struggles and see their perspective. It was really beautiful. And then beyond that, it was just a really beautiful love story as well. So if that at all sounds interesting to you, I definitely would recommend it. It's really gorgeous. Okay, apparently I'm a sucker for punishment because right after that I picked up Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. This was beautiful. I rated it 5 out of 5. It's autobiographical about Michelle's mother who passed away and coping with grief and second generation immigration and the disconnect you will feel culturally as your parents who are from a particular part of the world pass on and you are an Americanized version of that culture and coming to terms with that. And it was just a beautiful exploration of grief and culture, and I really could not recommend it enough, but please be prepared to cry. I cried literally in like the introduction. the opening line is, "Ever since my mom died, I cry an H Mart." So next I read Gallant, a ARC advanced reader's copy of V.E. Schwab's upcoming teen release for the month of February. I will have a dedicated review for that one, but just briefly, I will say I rated it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it very thoroughly. I wish it had been a little longer. I wish it had been a little bit more dark, but with the exception being that it's a teen novel, it's something that I think her audience will really enjoy. They're gonna come to really love and appreciate. And that being said, I feel like I was just wanting it to be adult, but it's not. So I don't even know if a 3.5 out of 5 is an accurate representation. Like, if I'm rating it for teens, it's probably like a 4 out of 5 stars. So keep a lookout for that review that I will solely just talk about that book. So this was the month of a lot of e-reading for me. So next I picked up Jade City on my Kindle. I really enjoyed this. This has quickly become one of my new favorite fantasy series, and I've only read book 1. I'm planning to read book 2 this month. I rated Jade City 5 out of 5 stars. Essentially, we are following a fictional world in which jade is a commodity, and the control of disbursement of jade holds a lot of power in this world. And there's 2 rival families that maintain most of the control of jade. And it's a high fantasy political gang fantasy. I feel like I'm not pitching it well, but it's really cool. So essentially, jade, those that control the jade control the power, because jade, when donned on a warrior, if they have the green bone ability, they are able to harness the jade power, and they can be super strong and have super powers through that jade. So it's important whoever is controlling the jade has the power, and they work kind of in tandem with the government so it's not exploited. I won't go any further, but basically, out of the 2 powerful families, we're following one of them, as there is a brother who is the new leader of the gang, his younger brother who is sort of the muscle, and their sister who is returning from abroad from schooling, coming back into the city in the midst of this political turmoil and power struggle between the 2 families. So if that at all sounds interesting to you in that very badly pitched way, let me tell you, it was a 5 out of 5 star. I had to physically stop myself from just binging the whole series, because I have plans to read book 2 in February and start and finish book 3 later on in the very tail end of March. So I really could barely keep my hands off of picking the next one up, because book 1 just takes you for a wild ride. Next, I finished my reread of Emma, gave it 5 out of 5. Again, Jane Austen is my favorite author. Knew I would love it, knew what I was signing up for. Very happy and privileged to be able to pick this up. My very used and abused copy of Emma that has just seen better days. Next, I picked up Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wang. This is a self-pub from the author. My copy came in like damaged, but I just didn't have the heart. I didn't know if the author would be charged for a replacement, because I ordered it directly from their website, mlwangbooks.com. So I didn't want to have to send it back and get a new copy. I didn't want them to be charged, because I really wanted to support this author. But all the praise I've been hearing about Sword of Kaigan was definitely warranted. I rated this a 5 out of 5 star. I was getting a little concerned towards the end of the month that I was binging all of the best fantasy early in the month, but then I thought, hey ho, I deserve it. I deserve a great reading month. So I rated this 5 out of 5 star. Essentially, we are following a young boy. It's multiple perspectives. One perspective, we're following a mother who is sort of living in a really like detached way from her family. We find that there's something mysterious about her past in which it has made it very difficult for her to feel comfortable in the very quiet life she's leading as a stay-at-home mother now. The second perspective we're following is one of her sons that is struggling to meet the family's expectation as he comes from a family of the greatest warriors of this island and protectors of this island. So he's struggling to meet the expectations, and unbeknownst to him, when a new young student arrives on the island, it sort of turns his perspective and world upside down. So if that sounds at all interesting to you, it's really a great story about legacy and familial strife and the burden that unknowingly can be placed on each other, but it also has really cool elemental magic that I think if you're a fan of like Avatar: The Last Airbender and maybe like the Poppy Wars, this is a really good mix. It's like Avatar: The Last Airbender, but a lot more gruesome. So this is where I don't want to say my month took a downturn, but like it kind of took a downturn in my reading. Next, I read The Ballerinas by Rachel Dale. This is a general fiction, but it's sort of a psychological fiction in which we're exploring the really interesting, what I find interesting, obsession with body perfection and performance perfection. I really struggled with this when I was younger, kind of struggle with performance perfection still. So the exploration of that in fiction is something that I find eternally fascinating. And aging ballerinas, I think solely because of Black Swan, scare me. So this was just tailor-made for me, basically. I rated it 3.5 out of 5 stars. We're following 3 friends in 2 timelines, one when they're younger and making their way from their ballet school into their ballet company, and how difficult that is to maintain and how nothing's essentially guaranteed, even growing up with the school that sort of manages and is an accessory to this ballet company. Nothing's guaranteed, and in the snap of your finger, even things that are out of your hand based on like your body design, or as you go through puberty, how your body shape will turn out. These young ladies are unceremoniously cut throughout the years. So we follow 3 of those friends as they are making their way through the school and into their company, and the psychology behind just how damaging that can be. It was good. It was really good. So I say my reading takes a downturn because we go from majority 5 stars into a 3.5, and it's just gonna go down from here, I'm afraid. Next, I started and completed my reread of Crescent City. House of Breath and Sky, I think, is book 2, comes out in 2 weeks at this point. And I hadn't read this book for about 2 years, so it was definitely important that I refreshed my mind, and I'm really glad I did, because rereading book 1, if you haven't read this in a while, I would suggest you do. There was a lot of plot devices that I think will carry through in the series that I had completely forgotten. I hate Hunt just as much. I was thinking about going back and sort of reliving what my initial review had been. I did vlog the experience, so that's going to be its own separate video. I thought it was kind of cool and important to do because as the series continues, I kind of want to see exactly where my thought process with it will go. I think that's going to be kind of fun. So the rest of the books I read exclusively on my e-reader. When I finished Crescent City, we were really nearing the end of the month. Today, currently, we're in Jan 31st. So these other 3 books, I read one on the 29th, one on the 30th, and I just started and finished the 3rd one today. So I read A Touch of Darkness, A Touch of Malice, and I also read Keen of Battle and Blood. There are 3 books by Catherine St. Clair. So A Touch of Darkness and A Touch of Malice is a series that is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and then Keen of Battle and Blood is a book I started that my friend lent me a while ago. It finally came in through Libby from my library, so I just thought, you know what, I've read 2 of her others, let's just finish it off. So I definitely have thoughts. A Touch of Darkness, I rated 3 out of 5 stars. It was fine. I thought the writing was very bad. That feels mean to say, but like, I was intrigued enough with the story that I continued it. So I liked Hades as a character. I really liked that they leaned into the moral grayness of his character, and Persephone, they really leaned into the fact that she was so sheltered previously that she was figuring out her own moral compass and very emotionally unintelligent. And the juxtaposition of those 2 characters was really interesting to me at the first 2/3 of the book. But a couple of things, the reason I gave it a 3-star was bad writing, just objectively, grammatically bad writing. Also, I felt that there was such a lack of tension between the characters for it to be a Hades and Persephone's retelling, and for what I assume St. Clair had a really good idea of where she wants the story to go. I felt that it was meandering at certain points, but there was a lack of tension between 2 characters that have quite a large parting in what they believe is due north in terms of morality, and I felt like that wasn't really explored or looked at enough for it to be interesting or have anything to really give to the story. And then of course the romance aspect of it, I didn't, because of the lack of tension and the lack of exploration within a romance that essentially the foil characters are the leading man and woman. There should have been, I felt, more tension. Even once they've gotten together, the will they won't they should have been a little more interesting to me because there was so much to work with. So 3 out of 5. But the end, as I neared the end, I had read it all in one sitting. It was a 3 or 4 hour read, super fast. I saw that book 2 was available on my Kobo. So I thought, you know what? 99 cents, let's do it. Let's just fly through book 2. Book 2, I rated 2 out of 5 stars. All the problems I had with A Touch of Darkness, I feel like A Touch of Malice went even more downhill. The writing was atrocious to me, fanficky, but almost young fanficky, someone who hasn't quite made it through high school or college. The grammar was poor. The writing structure was lazy and repetitive. And the smut also was not very good. So what was I doing there? So a very disappointing read that I did yesterday. And then today, again, I need to reiterate, I had a lot of wine last night. I wasn't good for anything. So I just sat and played the new Pokemon and read finished really, because I had started it a few months ago when my friend let me borrow her copy, and then I returned it. I was like, oh no. I was like, if you're interested, you should read this because I don't think I'm gonna finish it. I finished up King of Battle and Blood, and I didn't like it. That is her new series recently released that deals with a vampire king marrying a mortal question mark, but like heavily handed. There's something about her past life that it's hinted at so much, and I rated that one a 1.5 out of 5 stars, which I don't think I rated anything lower than a 2 last year. But when I say I couldn't in good conscience give it more than that because of how lazy the writing was, it felt like a really bad retelling of From Blood and Ash, which From Blood and Ash felt like a adult rewrite of Court of Thorns and Roses. Like, it's just like exponentially so much off of, like, exponentially such a spin-off of what I think fans look for when we look for something like that, and it was very disappointing. And spin-offs are fine. Getting your inspiration from stories are fine, but to the point where there were so many thematic threads woven from the two, what I would qualify as heavily inspired foundation, that it made it almost silly to read. Coupling that with the really, really lazy and or just bad writing made it for a really unfortunate read, I'm afraid. But I am also a stubborn reader, so once I was like 30% of the way through and my Kobo said, oh, you only have 2 hours left to read, I was like, oh, I'm finishing this bitch today. Because mama didn't raise no bitch. Like, I'm finishing this just out of stubbornness at this point. And really, it was my loss. I forced myself to do it and I hated it. So that's going to be the note I'm leaving off on January, I guess. It fit really well with my mental state. And before I hear people saying it's probably because I was hungover, no, it's not. I don't want to hear it's because I'm hungover, I didn't like this book. No, it's objectively awful. Just bad writing. If you're looking for good smut, this isn't it. If you're looking for good romance, this also isn't it. Good fantasy? Nope. Good world building? Nope. I don't really know. I really feel like it's just writing off the back of some of my more favorite series, which would be like Blood and Ash and Court of Thorns. It's really piggybacking off of that and doing none of the work. Like, it just hopped in the boat to save itself, but it's not paddling. It's not helping point us in a direction. It's literally just riding off the coattails of its predecessors, and I have such little respect for it. Will not be picking up another St. Clair. Tried 3, which is more grace than I give for most authors, so washing my hands of that one. Quick reads though. Added 3 to the belt. 3 notches to the old belt, but not in a great way because it brought my average down. So that is all I have for today. Those are the 15 books I read in the month of January, and please enjoy my next video of what I'm going to read in February, where I'm wearing the exact same outfit because I'm too tired to put on anything else. Bye.